Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm Jessica Flynn and I'm the owner and maker of Flynn Sisters Boutique. And today I'm going to bring you guys a fun and easy tutorial on how I do this Maldives marble look. This is a really easy technique to do. You can get a cup like this done in just a few days. So I really hope you guys enjoy the tutorial. I will link all the products and equipment that we use down in the description box, and of course if you have any questions or comments, put them down in the comments. I am very active down there. I try to respond to every single one of you guys. If you're new here and you're liking what you see so far, hit that subscribe button, hit the bell button so you don't miss any of our new videos. We do upload every Wednesday and Saturday. All right, you guys, let's go ahead and get started. All right, so for the base of our marble cup, we are going to be using a quick glitter base, which really is just glitter mixed into epoxy. I'm using Snow Confetti, Brite and Lovelace. All three glitters are from Peachy Olive Glitters. And I'm just generously mixing them into 10 milliliters of epoxy. Actually, I think this might even be 15 milliliters of epoxy. And we're going to be doing this on a 20-ounce traditional tumbler from Craft Haven. So we're going to mix the glitter in there really well. It is going to be a little chunky than if you were just doing a regular quick glitter base. So there it is there. And we're going to apply that to a prepped and sanded cup. My cup is a little warm because it was drying in front of the heater after spray painting it white. Okay. So we're just going to spread the glitter on really evenly. You do want to take your time and make sure that the glitter is distributed evenly and that you didn't miss any spots. And really what this is, the point of doing it this way is to save us time. You don't have to worry about smoothing out the cup before you start on the marbling process. You could just knock that all out in one step. So essentially you could do this part in the earlier part of the day and then at night start your marble and you're good to go. So all I'm doing here is just spreading on every bit of it that I can. And then once you've got everything spread on there really nicely, you're going to set it on your turner and you're going to let this turn for about 4 to 6 hours before moving on to the next steps. All right, there we go. So sparkly and pretty. All right, so with the next step, I went ahead and mixed 60 milliliters of epoxy for this project. We're going to be spreading about 20 milliliters of that onto our cup while it spins. And you'll want to make sure that you just, cover it evenly. You do not want to put a lot of epoxy on this layer. It's super important that you just kind of do a conservative layer here. And then we're going to divvy up the remainder of that epoxy into 6 different medicine cups. And we'll be preparing the paint, the mica powder, and the gold foil that will be marbling into the cup. So for the rose gold leaf, I just kind of rip off a good section there and mix it directly into my epoxy, kind of breaking it up. Just mixing it up. The more you mix it, the smaller the flakes you will have, and the less you mix it, the bigger the flakes you'll have. All right, and next we're going to mix up the copper tone mica powder. This is from Simply Sarah's Micas. I'll have all these products listed in the description box below. And just making sure to clean off our stir stick between each color. This is Rosy Posy Rose Gold Mica Powder, also from Simply Sarah's Micas. And I'm mixing in a pretty good amount. All right, and then here's our epoxy dye. We're just using a Lumelite white epoxy dye. You only need 1 drop, and that's about 5 milliliters of epoxy there. Stir it up really good, and then we're going to start mixing in our spray paint. You want to mix up your spray paint really well and only spray in 2 to 3 sprays for every 5 to 7 milliliters of epoxy. It's really important that you don't put too much spray paint in, otherwise your epoxy will never cure. I've been doing this for a really long time now and it works great for me. You just really need to make sure that you're not adding too much paint. All right, so we've got all those mixed. I'm going to use what I like, the little bit that I have left at the bottom of this cup for some glitter. That is Sweet Georgia Peach from Peachy Olive Glitters. All right, so now that I've got a kind of thinner layer of epoxy on here, and then I've got all my colors and micas mixed, we can go ahead and start putting stuff on. This epoxy has been sitting for a couple minutes. I didn't put any heat on it yet because I don't want too much movement happening. Okay, so we're gonna start with our white. Also, I'd like to note that normally I would want my turner rolling towards me rather than turning away from me. However, I don't have the ability to change the direction on this turner, so we're just gonna have to make it work. I do want to say that I really do not like this turner that I'm using in this video. It was gifted to me. I will have it linked in the description box below if you guys want to check it out. It is a very inexpensive turner that would be great for like a beginner, but it's really not my favorite. Anyway, what you're going to do with this white is just take your finger and kind of just smear it on, kind of in a swirl, but kind of not. Kind of just wherever you feel like it going, but it should kind of still make a little sense, and you don't want to put too much on, and you also don't want to leave globs of it or strings of it in any place. Also, I'd like to note that you'd normally want to have your respirator on for this, but because I need to instruct you guys while I do this, I'm not wearing one. All right, and then don't neglect your bottom. All right, so and what you'll start to kind of notice is this epoxy dye will kind of feather in the epoxy once it's on there. Just kind of can see how it's looking so far. Use one word to explain, I kind of dashed it along in different areas. Okay, so I've got the white kind of where I'm happy with it. You want to keep your coffee filters and rubbing alcohol close to wipe your glove off if you need to, because we're going to go into the next color. The color we're going to go into will be the nude paint. All right, and we're just gonna kind of do the same thing with the nude, but we're gonna go a little heavier with the nude. The thing I really don't like about this particular turner is this is a 5 to 6 RPM speed motor, and you do not have the ability to change it down to 2 to 3. I really do prefer 2 to 3 RPMs when working on a project like this. That's what I have inside on my other turners, and I really like it better because I feel so rushed. But anyway, we're just again kind of dashing the color throughout, and then we'll put some of that nude here on the bottom as well. And really what I'm where I'm placing it is filling in the lines or filling in the blank spots where there's no white dye. And you want to use up almost all of that nude paint if you can. But we're also, notice we're not really globbing it on, okay? So that is on there. Just kind of let that go for a little bit. see where it starts to go. I probably will not use any heat. Just because I don't really need to. If you are using counterculture or a thicker viscosity epoxy than Alumilite, then you probably will want to use heat, at least on that first layer of epoxy. Just remember that when you add heat to the equation, you're going to have movement. I don't really want a lot of movement in these colors because I kind of want them to stay separate. They're going to spread out on their own, and that's what I want, is for them to just do their own thing. I don't want to spread out for them. We're just kind of dabbing it on with our fingers. And that's what I really like about this technique, is I feel like it's so kind of fun and easy. It's user friendly. It's kind of hard to screw up because we're working in little bits at a time. Again, we're not dragging large pieces of epoxy over the cup. I just love how pretty this blue is. And guys, know too that you can change the color intensity on these spray paint colors to whatever you want. I mean, if you want to add a little more or add a little less, you know, obviously adding a little less, you're going to get more of like an alcohol ink look. Add a little more, you'll get more of a, you know, pigmented, maybe mica look. I don't know. Just remember not to add too much because you can mess up your epoxy and it will not cure if you add too much paint, okay? Also, your paint has to be thoroughly shaken. There's ketones in the paint that need to be thoroughly mixed in to that paint's formula in order for it to mix with the epoxy. So make sure that you really shake up your paint well before you add it to your epoxy. Otherwise, this is not going to work out too well. Okay. I'm going to kind of add a little bit more blue. If you want to add some paint or some heat to get a little more movement at this time, you could. I just prefer the look without heat. You want to keep an eye out for any kind of pooling. If your colors are starting to pool up or it's getting globby, you're just going to scoop it out with a gloved finger. Wipe it out on your parchment paper or your silicone mat. You've got the paint on there. You're going to want to let this roll for a little bit and just kind of monitor it. What you're monitoring for while it's rolling for a couple minutes is any glooping or pooling of color. If you see that, just pull a little bit of it out. And you're just going to kind of let it do its thing for a little bit. And then once it's rolled for a couple minutes, we're going to come back and start putting in our mica powders. Let the colors take their course a little bit. And we're going to come back in and do the mica. So I've got my little silicone brush thingy. Again, I will link these below. Mine is obviously really well loved. I use it a lot. All right, and so we're gonna start with just our Rosy Posy Rose Gold mica. And I'm just going to paint that in certain areas. I kind of just want to keep my micas to the white and nude parts. Just because I don't know how they'll really look going through the blue. So you're just kind of squiggling some little lines in there. Play with this and have fun with it. You don't have to do the colors in the way that I'm doing it. I just would like to show you guys the technique and the colors that I chose. I thought were really pretty together and a little unusual. Reminds me of the Maldives. So then with the copper tone, same thing. I'm just kind of brushing it in through, going a little thicker this time with my lines. out. Okay, so it's not so perfect. I don't want everything to look perfect. Kind of brushing in a little at the bottom here. Same thing with our rose gold flakes. So I'm going to actually stop the turner when I put these in because I really want to control. I want more control when I'm adding these in. Brush over where I feel like, wherever they kind of make sense in the design. I don't care if the rose gold gets into the blue because I know that these flakes look good in the blue. Really just go on nicely. These are going to be a little rigid in your epoxy when you're done, and that's okay. So see here, I've got a bunch of pooling. I'm just gonna wipe that right off. You want to try not to disturb it too much. Then you're going to come back and add in the glitter. Remember that glitter that we mixed up with a little bit left over of the epoxy? We're just going to put a little bit of that in. We're just going to kind of just traipse it through randomly in certain areas. This, to me, I think is totally optional. I mean, I could go with or without it, but I just think this peach glitter through the nude paint is so pretty. And just adds a little extra. Again, you know, totally optional, but I did think it added a nice touch. So we're just gonna put that through, and then we're done. So again, you do wanna just kind of keep an eye for a little while for any kind of glooping or clumping of color, if you will, and just kind of scoop that out with your finger, wipe it on your mat. And then you're done with this. So after this cures, you would just do another coat of epoxy, sand down any kind of rough spots if you need to, and that's that. Finish it off how you would finish off any other kind of, you know, glitter cup, marble cup, whatever. Here's our finished one. So this one we put a really cute decal on. It says calm the hell down. I think it's very fitting for the time that we're in right now. Okay, but look how those colors just kind of did their own thing. We let them go. Notice, you guys, I still have not put any heat on this at all. And this is like kind of just what it's morphing into. If you are using Alumilite, I would just say no heat on it, really, until you start getting into those final clear coats of epoxy over you know, because even if you did have a little bit of bubbles in this, you wouldn't really see them. You don't want the heat on here because you don't want a lot of movement. That's kind of the point. Also, if you find that you're getting too much movement in your colors and everything just kind of glooping around, you might have put too much epoxy in that initial layer before we started adding in the colors. Remember that one epoxy layer? You might have done a little too much epoxy there, okay? So be mindful of that. But it should be fairly simple for you guys to get results like these. This was pretty no fuss, no muss application here. And I really do love how the spray painted epoxy interacts with the epoxy dye. Epoxy. It's very pretty. So I love this look. I hope you guys loved it too. Thank you so much for watching my tutorial. If you love this video, Click subscribe, make sure you hit that bell button so you don't miss our next tutorial. We do upload every Wednesday and Saturday. Thank you guys so much. Have a great day. If you love this video, you could check out our last video here. Also be sure to find us on Instagram, Facebook, Pinterest, and of course subscribe for all our new videos that come out every Wednesday and Saturday. Thanks so much for watching. See you soon.